Hello, hi guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. I hope you enjoy this video. So in today's video we are going to be talking about my mistakes. I'm going to be telling you guys 3 financial mistakes that I did when I started working. So this video is good for if you've graduated and you're about to get your job. I hope this video is helpful and it is insightful. I'll just get into it. If it is the first time you seeing my face, don't forget to subscribe below. So the reason why you're subscribing is for you to get more videos on finance, on leadership, on interviews, on the Word of God. And if you're a returning subscriber, thanks again for taking your time to subscribe and watch this video. Okay, so let's talk. I'm so shy. Okay, so after I graduated, I went to go work, and when I went to go work, I started needing certain things that I didn't actually need. At that time, I thought I needed them, but I didn't really need them. I could literally live without those things. So let's go. Mistake number 1. When I started working, the first mistake I did was to live beyond my means. To live beyond my salary. So what I did was, as soon as I started working, I started living more than my salary. And that became a big problem, because when you live more than what you actually get paid, or you try to live a lifestyle of more than what you actually get paid, you're going to find yourself in a lot of debt. So because I couldn't afford that type of lifestyle that I was living, I got a credit card. And after getting a credit card, I even told myself, I lied to myself. I told myself that no, the reason why I'm getting a credit card is because I don't always want to be asking people for money when I don't have 100 rand. That is mistake number 1. You shouldn't come to that point where you don't have 100 rand. If you had a budget, because the reason why we budget is because we want to make sure that we've got money for specific things or for certain things in our lives, and not necessarily getting more money. You get me? So the reason why you would set up a budget is because you budget and say, okay, for transport I spend this much, so that then you take it from your salary. For grocery I spend this much, and you take it from your salary. I'm gonna save this much. For my rent I spend this much. So at the end of the day, even though you might not have anything left in your bank account, but then because you've budgeted, there's no need for you to want anything else. I hope that makes sense. So for example, a lot of times I found myself where I would run out of money for transport, for instance, because I didn't budget. So I spent my things on other things and not on the important things. So hence I was like, let me get a credit card, in case I don't have money for petrol or money for transport, then I'll just use it from the credit card, and I don't have to ask my mom or ask my friends for money. I'll just take it from the credit card, and then take it from the credit card. When I get paid, I'll just pay back the credit card. So already I created a leak from my current salary, because I thought that the credit card is extra money, but it's actually not extra money. So when I started using the credit card, I started buying things with the credit card thinking that I'm going to pay it back. But I found myself spending so much on the credit card where I couldn't afford to pay it back. So I was just paying back the actual interest instead of the amount that I've used. So for example, let's say for instance, I spent the credit card that month and I spent 3,000 rand on the credit card. Now because in my salary, I don't have an extra 3,000 rand to pay it off, I'm paying the bare minimum of that amount. So instead of me paying off the whole 3,000 rand, I'm just paying the interest, which is that 750 rand that I'm paying. And then that 3,000 rand grows. Next month, I use another 3,000 rand because I'm thinking it extra money. But from that, I've only spent, I'm owing 6,000 rand, but I've only paid the 750 rand again every month. So next month again, I use it. And I came to a point where I exhausted my credit card. It was finished, done. And I was like, oh my word, how am I going to pay this back? So then the trick that I thought was right was, okay, so I get paid this much. So normally when you start working, right, the credit card that you get is it matches your salary. So if you earn 12,000 rand, if you get a credit card, your salary is going to be 12,000 rand. If you earn 6,000 rand, if you get a credit card, your salary will be 6,000 rand credit card. So they match it. So then they make sure that you don't, because you just started working. So they make sure, and your credit record is not the best. Or you don't have a credit record because you're straight from varsity. So the bank doesn't like set your limit to very, very high. They just match it with your amount. So I'm like, okay, so because with a credit card, all the bank wants is they just want to see paid, right? And I need to pay it back. So the best thing to do is to take my salary, which is my 6,000 rand salary, and I'm going to take it all, and then I'm just going to pay it back into the credit card, and then I'm going to use the credit card. So I get paid, I take it, and then I shove it in the credit card, and then I use the credit card. Even my colleagues did that. It was normal, that's how we pay back the credit card. But you're not actually paying it back. You are just in debt because you're just like, it's like a cycle. It's a cycle. And then obviously I had to stop working, for my own personal reasons and go back to school. And then guess what? I didn't have money to pay back the credit card. So what happens when you can't pay back your credit card? You get into a lot of trouble. They take you to the lawyers, and they ended up taking me to the lawyers. And I remember this lady calling me and saying, let's just pay back 100 rand every month. Just pay it back. And I was like, okay. Then I started paying it back 100 rand. Then I had to get a job to pay off my credit card. Then I worked again, and I was able to finish it off. So I finished paying off my credit card. I was owing a lot. I think I was owing a lot of money, which I didn't have. I paid it off last year in September. So it literally took me 4 years to pay off the credit card. So that was mistake number one. Living beyond my means and thinking that my credit card is extra money when it is not extra money. So when you start working, please be careful of the credit card trap. It's real, it does happen, because you find yourself living beyond your means and you feel like, but I'll pay it back anyway. And you're just in the cycle of credit card, and the amount just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and you end up in that cycle that I was talking about. So that was mistake number one, living beyond my means and getting a credit card. Mistake number two that I did was I rushed to buy a car, and that was a problem. I rushed to buy a car. Okay, so obviously before you actually start working, you don't have a car, so you make means to get to work. So I was living in Joburg at that time, and I was living with a friend of mine because I didn't have money to travel to. I didn't have like money to travel from Pretoria to Joburg, so I would live with my friend. So when I lived with my friend, I would use the bus. I was actually using the metro bus, guys, which was so convenient because I literally caught it by the gate. Even my friend told me, like, when I was like, crashing there by her, she told me, she's like, no, you'll get the metro bus by the gate and it's gonna drop you here. But the only problem is it's full. So so that's what you do. Or you can catch a taxi. You can go to MTN. There's a place called MTN in Joburg where we catch taxis to go to work. So that was actually quite convenient because I'd buy a card with the metro bus, and I just loaded, I think, a trip to Sandton, because I was working in Sandton. A trip to Sandton was about 22 rand, if I'm not mistaken. Was it 22? I think it was 18 rand. I can't remember, but it was not expensive. I think to go and to come back, I spent less than 40 rand by using the bus. So if we were to calculate that, it's not a lot. If it's 50, let's say it's 50 rand times 20 days, which would be 5 times 2, so about like 1,000 rand you'll need a month for transport from my salary. But then as I saw my friends buying cars, I was like, no ways, me, I want to buy a car. I want to buy a car now. I want to buy a car. I can't be in the metro bus, and so I went and I bought a car. I got my license, and which is good. It's good to get your license. And I went and I bought a car. How bad now buying this car? Little did I know that if you buy a car, you're gonna have to pay your car installments. You're gonna need insurance, and on top of that, you're gonna need petrol to buy that car. And there's traffic, Joburg traffic, to buy that car. So at the end of the day, it's not making my life better, because I thought it was gonna make my life better because it's a car, it's comfortable, but it's not really. So I ended up spending close to about 6,000 rand from my salary, with this car that I was paying back, right? So the car that I wanted was about 140,000 rand. And so when you buy a car, they even tell you that, no man, don't worry, we'll just extend the period. So I paid my car off. I think I took the longest period, which was 6 years, to pay off the car, so that my car repayments become less. And please note, so that my car repayments, become less. So they're like, no, don't worry, it's just 3,500 rand, and for 7 years. So when I sat and I actually calculated how much I was actually paying back for the amount of money, I was paying close to double the amount of interest back. So the car was about 250,000 rand that I had to pay off, but the car only cost 140. So it means that interest was like 110,000 rand, if my math is correct, that I spent on the car. But if I had just been patient and I told myself that I want to buy a car, and I started saving up for the car for 2 years, I would have bought my 140,000 rand car. I would have had 100,000 rand deposit, and the bank would only have given me 150 rand. No, not 50,000 rand. That is how much the bank would have given me. So instead of me taking up a loan of 140,000 rand and paying them back interest of another 110,000 rand, making my total loan amount 250,000 rand, if I had just been patient and waited for 2 years, every single month, saved that insurance money and that car money, I would have saved 100,000 rand in the 2 years. Only needed to take out a car loan of 50,000 rand, 50,000 rand, is it 50,000 rand? Yeah, to buy my 140,000 rand car. And that was going to make it way less. I would have finished that 50,000 rand in less than a year or two. And the only thing that I'd obviously be paying is insurance. So I wasn't patient. I rushed to buy my car because everybody else had a car and I did not want to use public transport. So that was mistake number 2. So already about a big chunk, like 6, not even, because petrol, so about 6,500 rand was coming off from my salary, from my very little salary when I bought the car. So that was mistake number 2, not being patient enough and saving enough to make sure that I've got enough money to buy off a car. I ended up buying off a car with a lot of interest and paying back the bank. So when you are leaving varsity, just be careful of the car trap, especially if you know that you can get to work without a car. But now, if for instance, my previous job that I was working, where I see clients, right? So you can argue and say, no, but my situation is different. I see clients. But with that one, because you see clients, the company gives you travel allowance, right? And when they give you travel allowance, you can actually use the travel allowance to pay off the car repayments, not necessarily tap it from your personal amount of money. So hence I say, there are always ways to these things. And I should have used Uber. I think that was another thing. There is Uber. There is public transport. I could have used the public transport instead of me rushing and making sure that the first thing I buy in the first year of work when I start working is to get a car. So that was mistake number 2. I didn't have a financial plan. I didn't have a financial goal. I just wanted to achieve certain things. I wanted my car. I don't care what you say. And I also saw my colleagues buying very, very expensive cars, guys. Like, what's our salary? And my manager would always say, is that the car that you just bought? I can't afford your car. Never. And this is my manager. He got paid 3 times, 4 times more than us. And he would say, I cannot afford that car. So that was mistake number 2, not being patient enough to save enough money to actually buy a car, rushing to buy a car. And then my other mistake was where I lived. So my friend offered me accommodation, and I was so like, oh no, please, I need to get out of here. I need to get my own place. Instead of me necessarily getting a roommate, I wanted to live alone. Why? I don't know. I wanted my own space, so that I'm comfortable. And so I went and I got a place to stay. After getting a place to stay, I made sure that,